Hello, everyone. Welcome to Durrett's Take. It's that time of the year where the NFL draft is upon us, Thursday, Friday, Saturday this week, and it's time to go over my final mock draft predictions. Now, for those who haven't been following my other mock drafts, I do not project trades, so this is just based off of the order stands. So let's get started. Number one, Carolina's on the clock. I think Carolina will take quarterback Bryce Young from Alabama. Now, originally it was C.J. Stroud before it then became Bryce Young, and as of yesterday, they're saying, "Oh, what? Watch out for Will Levis number one." I'm not buying in that, hoopla at all. So I think it will be Bryce Young number one. Number two, Houston. They can go defensive tackle Jalen Carter from Georgia's best player in this draft. All he has the character issues and all that, or you can go pass rusher Will Anderson, Alabama. I think they're going to go with the safer out here and get the pass rusher from Alabama, Will Anderson Jr. Three, Arizona. Now, what's interesting here is that Colin Murray, quarter reports Colin Murray wants the offensive tackle Paris Johnson Jr. from Ohio State, but the problem is with the top 5 pick, that's too high to take that tackle. Now, of course, if they end up trading back, that's perfect, but again, I don't project trades. This is based on if their pick stands, and if it stands, then I think with a defensive-minded head coach that they just hired, they're going to go build up the defense that they desperately need to do. So I have them taking a risk on Jalen Carter from Georgia. Number 4, Indianapolis. Now, could they do a surprise thing and trade back and take a quarterback later in the draft? I don't think it is. So it's between Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, C.J. Stroud. I know they have Gardner Minshew there that could start a year. If they do take an Anthony Richardson, he needs to wait a year or two. But I just don't see Indianapolis taking a project quarterback. So I think it'll be Will Levis, C.J. Stroud. And I think they will like Will Levis more and take him, even though I wouldn't take him. But I think that's what could happen. Okay, 5th, Seattle. Now again, they can take a quarterback here, sit behind Geno Smith for a couple years, or they can draft defensive line, which they need to. I am gonna have them take a flyer on quarterback Anthony Richardson from Florida. Now, I mean, Geno Smith's gonna be there for 2 years. He can sit there, learn behind them, all that, and Pete Carroll likes developing, working on projects. So this is a fascinating project for him. 6, Detroit. I have them taking pass rusher Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech. He's one of those up and coming pass rushers that could be the best pass rusher in this draft. Like, he has that high of upside. And Detroit needs another pass rusher to pair along with Aiden Hutchinson, who they took last year. 7, Vegas. Now they desperately need a corner here. Now, in this case, C.J. Stroud will be falling, so that might be tempting for them, especially since they don't have a legit backup behind Jimmy G, and Jimmy G is always injured. But nevertheless, they need to fix their secondary, so them taking quarterback Christian Gonzalez from Oregon. 8, Atlanta. I had them they need a pass rusher as well. Now they also could use another receiver, lineman, a quarterback. Again, I know they're interested in C.J. Stroud. But I'm going to have them take a pass rusher here, Nolan Smith from Georgia. 9, Chicago. This is where the first offensive lineman will be taken off the board. Now, they could draft pass rush because that's something they need, but I feel like they really need to, if they want to go Justin Fields is the guy, they really need to, help fix that O-line. Now, there's multiple offensive linemen that could be drafted first. I feel like they're going to like Paris Johnson Jr. from Ohio State. So I've been going that route. 10, Philadelphia. There's a lot of hype with maybe they take Bijan Robinson here, the running back from Texas, but I just don't see him taking a running back this high. Instead, they need some pass rushing, so I'm going to have them take Luke Van Ness from Iowa. And since Philadelphia is just drafting for depth at this point, not necessarily needs, that's a pass rusher with not a lot of experience but high upside, so it works out on their timeline there. 11, watch out for Philadelphia, potentially trade back. 11, Tennessee, that this is where they will take quarterback C.J. Stroud from Ohio State, or whichever quarterbacks remain. I know they're trying to trade with Arizona and be in top 3, so they give them more of their own choice. But they showed clear signs they're ready to move off Ryan Tannehill, and they don't trust Malik Willis, who they took last year. So C.J. Stroud would be a nice option here. 12, Houston. They need another cornerback to pair with Stingley, they took last year, so I'm going to have to take Devon Witherspoon, the cornerback from Illinois. He's really good. 13, Green Bay. Now, even though they moved 2 spots up because of the whole Aaron Rodgers trades, I feel like they're still going to take the same player that they should back when I had them at 15th, and that's the tight end Michael Mayer from Notre Dame. They desperately need a tight end. I feel like this could help them out here. 14 New England. Now, usually New England doesn't make the right decision when it comes to offense in the draft. But this is a rare case where I think they'll, especially with Bill O'Brien there as offense coordinator, I feel like they'll make the right choice here. And I have them taking wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba from Ohio State because they desperately need to upgrade their wide receiver core. Now, there's reports that if a quarterback falls this far, like Will Levis or something, or they could be interested, but I'm not buying into that. They also could go offense tackle here. So if they don't go wide receiver, it's supposed to be probably offense tackle. 15 New York Jets, that they desperately need an offensive tackle. And there, I have them taking Peter Skoronowski from Northwestern, who surprisingly falls this late. I had them more of a top 13 type of pick, so that the Jets get him by going down 2 spots would be pretty good for them. 16 Washington. Now there's they have a couple different needs, but a lot of their needs are it's not for this high up in the drafts. They could trade down, but basically at this point, where you're at 16, you either get the next best tight end or you get someone in the secondary because they need something there too. So I have a feeling they're going to draft cornerback Joey Porter Jr. from Penn State is what I would guess. 17 Pittsburgh. Now they have their choice of. I know they're going to get offense tackle here. So just a matter of which offense tackle because there's a couple different options here. But I think they're going to go with Darnell Wright, tackle from Tennessee, who's kind of risen recently on the draft boards over the past week or so. 18 Detroit. They desperately need some interior pass rush here. So I'm going to have them take Brian Brees, the defensive tackle from Clemson. So that way they fortified a defensive line, and with all the acquisitions they got in the offseason and all that, Detroit's going to look very good. Tampa Bay at 19, there's been talks that they like Bijan Robinson, but again, while they do need a running back at some point, it's just like they desperately need to fix their offensive line. So I had them take an offensive tackle, Broderick Jones from Georgia, who could go a little bit higher, but it's going to fall down to them and work out perfectly. 20 Seattle. Now at this point they need a pass rusher. They technically need someone on the tier of the defense, but at this point since Brian Brees and Jim Carter are both off the board, this is kind of too high for them to take a defense tackle. So I've been taking a defensive end instead. It'll be Miles Murphy from Clemson. 21 Chargers. Now even though they're still going to have Austin Eckler for at least one more year, I have them taking running back Bijan Robinson. So that way when Eckler does move on after this year, they have their guy for the future, and they restart that running back clock. 22 Baltimore, and they need another wide receiver here despite getting Odell Beckham Jr. But the problem is this isn't like a high-end wide receiver draft. A lot of the good receivers are more for second, third round, not first round, except for Jack Smith-Njigba. But I'm gonna have them get Zay Flowers, the receiver from Boston College. He's a very productive wide receiver, and he's one of the safer bets amongst the receivers. 23 Minnesota. Now they could go secondary here. They could go offensive line here. They could go defense. I mean, again, a little higher for defensive tackle. But since Minnesota's been, talking with, trying to figure out who's going to be the quarterback after Kirk Cousins, I had them taking quarterback Hendon Hooker from Tennessee. He can sit behind Kirk Cousins and then take over after that. If Minnesota doesn't go quarterback in the first round, they definitely will later on. Jacksonville, 24. Again, there's a couple different areas you can go here. But I'm going to have them go cornerback and get Keely Ringo from Georgia. 25, New York Giants. Now, again, you're reaching here for a receiver, but they desperately need a receiver. So I'm going to have them take Quentin Johnson, the receiver from TCU. 26, Dallas. If the draft works out like I have it right now, then if you're Dallas, you're having high fives because you're going to get tight end Dalton Kincaid from Utah, who would be falling down to you at this point. And they desperately need tight end now with Dalton Schultz leaving. They could go offensive line here. Wouldn't surprise me. And again, if Bijan Robinson somehow falls this point, they definitely will take him. But assuming those things don't happen, then they're going to get Dalton Kincaid. Buffalo, 27. They desperately need offensive line help to help out Josh Allen. So I've been taking a guard here, and Osiris Torrance from Florida. Cincinnati, 28. They could obviously go offensive line here as well because they keep on having injuries to the O-line. but I'm going to have them focus on the secondary for now. And I'm going to have them take safety Brian Branch from Alabama, who can also play like nickel, corner, and all that. So just an all-around good guy for the secondary there. 29 New Orleans. Now again, they can go off. Get high for a receiver right now, so they can go offensive tackle, or they can go um, defensive lines, since they lost a couple of defensive line players free agency. So that's the kind of direction I'm going to have them go. So they're going to reach a little bit, but they're going to get Khalija Kainsey, defensive tackle from Pittsburgh. 30 Philadelphia. They could go offensive line here to fortify that depth, since Kelsey and Lane Johnson don't have many years on them left. But I feel like they're going to wait for another round to do that, and they're going to take a running back here, Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama, to fortify the running back depth there, with Miles Sanders leaving. And then last but not least, Kansas City. They lost their offense tackle, star offense tackle from last year to Cincinnati. So for Kansas City here, they could go receiver, but again, that's just a little bit too high. I'd wait for the second round if I'm Kansas City, which means I feel like they're either going to go offensive tackle here, or they're going to go defensive and pass rush, because they need to fortify that spot. There's no wrong option either way here. I'm going to have them go defensive and Isaiah Foskey from Notre Dame. Which, since Kansas City is hosting the draft this year, that pick's going to be very important, because you don't want to disappoint the home crowd there. But yeah, so again, that's my final mock draft there. I'm going to post this on my LinkedIn page so you guys can see that. And Durrett is where you can find that. And just as a reminder, you get the NFL draft this week and all that, but don't forget, like I've been saying, don't forget about not watching the XFL. The XFL's been pretty good now. It's playoff time, which means it gets better football now. It's playoffs, so you got a playoff game Saturday and playoff game Sunday for the XFL. The winner of those two will go to the championship the following week. And then also the USFL, as a reminder, has started as well. And this is going to be week 3 of the USFL this weekend, so don't forget to watch those as well. So thank you very much for listening to my podcast today. Please subscribe to my channel and turn about me. Thank you very much. You have a wonderful day.